Live from the Talking Joe studios,
it's Talking Joe with Chief and Chris. Hey to the hey, to the hey, hey, hey. It's me, the Chiefy Hey Hey Shoes.
And it's me, Hey Agnostic Haty, Diagnostic Haty, Chris McLeod from the 4-4s. And this show, how you doing, buddy?
It sure is. Yes, I am. I'm very well. High energy today.
Oh, good.
The motto of this week's episode. High energy. Hey energy. Yeah, what you been up to?
Energy.
Yeah,
I have been. What have I been up to? That is a. No, do you know what? This is the one part of the show I do not prep for because I always. I've actually
prepped for the whole show this time in advance.
Incredible.
Believe the hype. Believe the hype.
I have been scampering to find a beverage for the show because I was only told the other day that we're recording Monday because you can't do any other days in the universe.
Standard short notice chief, they call me.
So yeah, just to keep this segment pretty quick, I haven't been up to much. I've just been basically just working and doing podcasts and stuff like that. So yeah, Very little for me in that sense. How about you?
Not too bad. Today I actually bumped into Peter Crouch.
Amazing.
Anyone across the pond will not know who he is. He is a footballer, a soccer player who's played for many clubs. He's played for a lot of clubs actually. I think Liverpool was probably his biggest club he played for.
Or England, probably.
Oh, well, yeah, England. He did a robot. Just basically Google Peter Crouch robot, and he does a robot celebration when he scores a goal. Where I work is opposite the BT Sport building, who are a big...
cool.
BT Sport is a big sports channel, or it's a series of channels and media stuff, sports media stuff. And yeah, he was getting off the bus from Stratford in there, which is the bus that we all get to our office, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, who's this lanky, skinny guy? It's Peter Crouch. I was like, oi, Crouchy, stop where you are, I'm taking a selfie. And I don't think I did.
Was he nice?
I think I actually said, oh, excuse me, Mr. Crouch, would you mind ever so much if I took a photo of me and you together? He's a top guy. I think he was actually going to the BT Sport to record his podcast.
Cool.
He's got a very good podcast.
Talking Joe.
Worth listening to. What I should have done is said, hey, do you fancy teaming up tonight with me and my buddy Chris, and we'll do a crossover pod, but I forgot. So next time I see Crouchy, I'll ask him.
Totally. We need to get Crouchy on the show, big time.
Yeah. Let's find out if he's a G.I. Joe fan.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine if he's like a massive Joe fanatic, like Action Force, early doors Action Force scenario, like massive fan? That would be hilarious.
Amazing. Unbelievable, Jeff.
It's unbelievable, Jeff!
It's unbelievable, Jeff.
I've not been doing much. I have just, when I got home from work, I just had a delivery of comics. I've got Thor 16, which I think is the last issue of Thor, and then it's going on to King Thor, something like that. I've got Superman 14, a picture of Krypto on the cover. I've got Batman, Curse of the White Knight, issue 2. I've got Spider-Man Life Story, issue 6. I am a massive non-Spider-Man fan. I hate that dude.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely no time for Spider-Man. However, I've bought this. I've tried to duck into Spider-Man comics over the years with no success. Just don't get him. But I bought this 6-issue miniseries. It's called Life Story. It's written by Chip Zdarsky, who is a great writer, and it's drawn by Mark Bagley, who drew like 100+ issues of Ultimate Spider-Man and also drew the regular Amazing Spider-Man back in the 90s.
Yeah.
But anyway, they've done this series called Life Story, 6 parts. So part 6 is the apostrophe 10s, then part 5 was the noughties, part 4 was the 90s, 80s, 70s, 60s. Issue 1 was the 60s, effectively. I haven't read any yet. I've been saving all up 6 up to read it in one go. So each one is a decade in the life of Spider-Man. So supposed to be good, so I'm actually going to give that a go. And the last one I've got is Justice League issue 30.
Speaking of Spider-Man, a lot of the love and hate kind of thing with certain characters is kind of experiences you have as a kid with them. And I'm not like you say, I'm not like a massive Spider-Man fan. I don't hate him as much as you do. But one of my first comics was... Well, it wasn't one of my first comics, but one of my early memories as a kid, my half-brother, David, we weren't on speaking terms for many years because he just kind of disappeared off the face of the earth. Okay. And he only came back into our lives. He was my dad's son from a different marriage.
Right.
And so, like, I as a kid, he was a lot older than me. and I used to look up to him, and he was a really good artist, and he was massive into comics, and he gave me 1 to 5 of the Spider-Man McFarlane Torment series.
Yep.
And that, like, I've kept them ever since, and they've just been like that early, I don't know, kind of exposure to that Spider-Man story. Just as always, I've always just been like enamored with it for that reason. So big shout out to David, my long lost but now returned half brother.
Speaking of David/Dave, I want to give a shout out to Dave from he's a fan of the show, Dave Reese, member of the Facebook group, and he's offered to send me some Golden Wonder curry sauce chips, crisps. Sorry.
Yeah, big shout out to Dave. He's a massive fan. He's too close.
He told me that they were in Lidl, so I went around 2 Lidls, went to another one today, couldn't find them, so I'm going to hit him up, give him my address, and he's going to send me a care package.
Oh, Dave's lovely. He's a really, really nice guy, and he was on our episode of, we did a special GoBots, Tom Scioli GoBots 2-parter, and he jumped on and helped with that, so big shout out to Dave. He's a Full Force fan and a Talking Joe fan.
Yeah, top man. So anyway, just very, very quickly, talking about Spider-Man, that issue, I think the issue 1 of that McFarlane Spider-Man was the first comic to maybe sell 1 million copies, I think. It was about 1990 or 90, I think it was 90, possibly.
Yeah.
And then X-Force possibly oversold it, and then I think like 5 million, and then I think, I could be making these numbers up, then I think X-Men #1 in 1992 sold something like 8 million.
Wow, that's when the comics industry was strong, man.
That was the boom period, and then, you know, you had to be selling 500,000 in general to get to the #1 each month, #1 book each month, and I think now you sell 100,000 copies.
I know, it's really low now.
Well, that is print. I mean, and the digital numbers aren't attached to that. But I mean, I don't know.
I don't think they're that massive though.
Is.
I think if you look at Joe, like the current IDW comics, they're, Larry, who's on like the Real American Hero titles and stuff. That's hitting like at the most 7,000, at the very most. For the most part, it's just under that. In terms of print, and I think he's just on the cusp of being profitable, and obviously they'll always keep him around on it, because it's he's always the highest selling Joe book. It's just crazy, isn't it?
I mean, I think it used. I don't know what the numbers are now, but it always used to be kind of the late 90s, maybe not late 90s, maybe 10 years ago. If a Marvel or DC book was selling under like 25,000,
it was done.
Then it's cancelled. Yeah.
It's quite sad, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think there was a big, not disconnect, but over-assumption that suddenly once Marvel especially produced these billion-dollar blockbuster movies, that all those people are then going to flood to the comic shops and buy comics.
Yeah,
but that just was never going to happen.
No.
And Marvel, and to an extent DC, started changing the characters in their comics to more resemble the look and feel of the movies. And again, I don't think that's necessarily what comic book readers wanted, but
but you're right though. People talk about it all the time about the kind of the boom of streaming media and how easy it is to kind of get this, that, and the other. And it's true. Like, kids will always default to the phone or the pad or the laptop for that kind of entertainment. They're not necessarily going to go out there and get a physical comic book necessarily. It's just that's how it is nowadays.
The other thing is, you buy a video game for whatever, 40 quid or whatever. You are probably, and it's a big open world one. You play it for 40 hours. You're paying, £1 an hour, which is a good entertainment value. You buy a comic book that, these books I bought here. So this is, let me have a look here. This is Justice League. This is a $4.99 book. And I think I probably paid, I don't know, £3.50 for it, maybe.
Yeah.
And I'll probably read that in, 20 minutes, 15 minutes.
Yeah,
so
they're
incredibly poor value for money, potential value for entertainment value per buck, potentially. Well, they can't be that bad, otherwise I wouldn't buy them and other people wouldn't buy them. But but have you noticed they're expensive for what they are?
The trend in buying trades has gone up massively because of that binge mentality. Like because I don't think it was as big back in the day. I know a lot of people had trades, but for the most part, I would buy comics ahead of trades unless I missed out on something like for the first 3 or 4 issues. And if it was difficult to get back issues of. So then I would be like, I'll get a trade then if it was stayed on my radar, or if it appeared in like Waterstones or friggin' whatever the bookstore was that was shifting graphic novels at the time. And I just used air quotes. Really good on an audio podcast. Also, I'm quite glad no one saw it because I hate that more than anything. And so like that binge mentality has really been like not exposed, but really kind of reinforced with Netflix and all these like streaming services, Hulu and what have you, who just like, it's like I don't want to watch one episode of a show. I want to watch 50 episodes of a show.
And the other thing is, I think that's where digital comes in, because digital has a lot of sales, Comixology a lot of the time, where you can buy issues at 69p or 69 cents or whatever. So you can then, I'll get all 20 issues. And the other thing is, what used to happen back in the day is you'd have a 6-issue or 10-issue series, mini-series or whatever, and it would take after that last issue drops, it would be 6 months to 9 months until the trade dropped. Now what happens is that 6-issue mini-series, on month 7, that's when the trade drops. So it's issue one issue a month, and then on that 7th month, you don't have to, the trade hits then straight away. So it encourages people to say, look, I'll just wait an extra, instead of getting all these singles, wait 1 month and get the trade at a cheaper value at a cheaper cost per issue.
And more entertainment value. Yeah, exactly. No, I totally agree with you. And I'm not saying that we should be playing that music, that kind of northern music in the background they always play for like when I were a lad, like a Hovis advert music.
But like summer, what is it? What's the
that one. But I know you're thinking of the Last of the Summer Wine. I'll play that in the background anyway.
I love that Hovis advert where he's pushing the bike up the hill.
Up the hill, yes, exactly. So I feel like I'm not saying that necessarily because I am just as bad. I don't get trades necessarily. I think I'm buying comics more out of the not habit, but like the nostalgic kind of enjoyment out of that, and like following a story over a period of time and seeing it like evolve and not knowing what's going to be happening, and I like that feeling. But I do enjoy rinsing through a trade every now and again if I do bother with it. But I'm just as bad when it comes to like Netflix and Hulu and all that stuff. I've fallen into that trap of I did it last night. I think I watched the entire first season of 6, which was like this
first 6 seasons.
First season of this of this series called 6. So I'm not that bad. But it was like this Navy SEAL Team 6 kind of thing that was on the History Channel.
And they have that. On the History Channel, but Netflix and Now TV and all those for Amazon Prime, they have that clever little thing where it says next episode will start in
3 seconds. And my Xbox controller's already turned off by then, so by the time I turn it on again to stop it, it's already playing. I'm like, I'm here now.
We've made a massive error. Biblical proportions.
Is it beverages?
We've done 13 minutes of talking, and we've not even discussed beverages.
Go on, then, get in there.
Beverage for the show, do-do-do-do-do-do. Beverage for the show, do-do-do-do-do-do. Now I am gonna go, do-do, and drink my beverage for the show.
So today I have I don't know if this is a brand that's in the US, Rubicon.
I haven't seen it in the States. Okay. It might be.
Rubicon. It's a sparkling. It's a can of soda pop, 330 mils, standard UK size. I'll read the description: sparkling lychee juice soft drink.
Nice.
Sparkling lychee. Let's give it a go. 69p.
I have had Rubicon before.
Yeah, I've had Rubicon, but like tropical. They do a lot of tropical flavours, but I've never had the lychee. Let's have a go. Yeah. I couldn't remember what a lychee tastes like. Now I've had this, I can remember. It tastes like this. So yeah, very good. I've actually come prepared here because I've literally just come back straight from work. So I also got a couple of plums.
Ooh. Don't we all?
I've got a yellow plum.
Go to the doctor then, mate. In that case,
that came in the organic fruit box.
Stop. You should complain to the store for them doing that. But
And then I've also got a bag of Walker's Max Strong wasabi flavour Ridge crisps.
You are literally beveraging and snacking for the show, aren't you?
Oh, mate, they are off the hook.
Off the chisane.
They are well good. What have you got, my friend?
Again, given very short notice, what I usually do, and what I have been doing for the last few weeks, is on a Monday, I've been going out to the grocery store in Columbia, which is about 25 minutes away, drive-wise.
Just to get a beverage?
Just to get...
Man, you love this show.
To get groceries, but then also I'll be like, right, because I know I'm doing this tomorrow, let's get a beverage for the show. And then you drop it on me yesterday that we're doing it, we have to do it earlier. And so, okay, fair enough. So I'll just go to the corner store, Casey's General, around the corner, see what they have. Hopped around there, and it was slim pickings, the blues guitarist, to say the least. So I had in my hand for a few moments a cherry Dr. Pepper, which I haven't had in the past. I've never had a cherry Dr. Pepper, I don't think.
No, me neither.
So,
never seen them in the UK.
But as I was moving away to get that, I'd caught in the corner of my eye something that is a bit standard and basic, but I hadn't had it yet, and I knew for a fact I hadn't had it yet. It was Coca-Cola Orange Vanilla. So I thought,
the deuce?
You know what? I'm going to try that out. So I just figured it was quite a standard issue flavour. By the sound of your reaction, I don't think it is. So I'm going to open this bad boy. It's a twisty cap plastic bottle. Ooh, nice.
Wouldn't be allowed in my house.
I know. Let's give it a little taste.
Quick question before you tell me that. We know that the standardised US... yeah, that is a good beverage. We know the standardised US can size is bigger than the UK size. What's the millage on your bottle there? UK, that would be a 500 ml. What are you rocking there?
591.
Yeah, always got to do one thing bigger, haven't you?
20 fluid ounces, 1.25 pints, 591 mils.
Yeah, more for your buck.
More bang for your dollar? No, that's not right. But yeah, so it tastes exactly as you'd expect it to taste. It's got shades of vanilla, shades of orange, and it's Coke.
There you go.
It's nice. It's nice.
Beverages for the show. Plus, I sucked my plums in the end because they were so soft. They were.
There are going to be so many cartoon boings in this episode.
Yeah, we're in a good mood all round. We've had good beverages. It can only mean one thing. We got to go
inside Chief's mind.
People. No, it's actually not people this week. Holy moly. Actually, it probably could be people.
You're just so used to saying that first.
Yeah. People. I'm going to say it. Right. What? Deep breaths. What do you call in the States? Like in the UK, we call it a rucksack, which is a bag that goes on your back, backpack.
A backpack.
Called a rucksack?
I think it's called a backpack.
It's called a backpack. Okay, so one of them, and then obviously you got your zip on the big main pocket.
Yeah.
Now, bags, the main pocket, like your suitcase, that has two zips.
Right.
So not two separate pockets. You know what I mean? Two zips on the same zip line.
Right. Yeah.
You with me?
Yeah.
So it is
kind of like they
people.
meet up in the middle kind of job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People that design those bags with two zips. I'll tell you why. I was going to say what's annoying me is bags with two zips, but it's the people who design the bags with two zips. So, at the weekend, I'm going out to Nuneaton in the middle of the Midlands of the UK for a big board gaming session over the weekend, and I'm literally jammed up with bags. I've got one on my back, one on my front, one in each hand, just carrying board games. So I'm going through London Bridge, headphones in, listening to the Full Force podcast.
Oh, good man.
Someone comes and taps me on the shoulder. So I'm like pissed off straight away because I've got to pause it. So I paused it. He's like, here you go. He's handing me a pair of pants. And when I say pants, I mean underwear for you people in the United States.
Why?
Because they're my pants because they've fallen out of my rucksack. Because my rucksack was so full... the zips I had zipped each side up, so the zips met at the top of the rucksack.
Yeah.
And my bag was so full, as I was walking, those zips slowly walked themselves down.
Oh, mate.
And then the next day, I'm at my mate's house. I'm like, right, I'll have a shower and get changed for the next day. Couldn't find my socks or my T-shirt. My favourite Jaws T-shirt, my favourite socks. So what's happened is I've just left a trail of clothes through London Bridge train station.
That is hilariously sad.
So why are you putting two zips on a bag? If there's one zip, it can go all the way round to the bottom on the other side, and you don't get this problem.
That's crazy.
So stop designing bags with 2 zips when it's not required. Why do you need 2 zips? What advantage does that give you?
This is also going to upset you, but you could always zip one all the way down and then zip the other one all the way across.
Okay, we're not about getting on Chief's case right now. Maybe, I think I've done an Inside Chief's Mind before where I was at fault, but I'm not been on this show twice. So, yes, I could have done.
I feel
but
so
had
bad
that
for you,
idiotic
buddy.
design and not put 2 zips in the first place, wouldn't have happened.
No, I agree. It's an odd choice. I suppose it's one of those things. Well, I'm not going to get into why they do it, but I'm with you. One zip is enough, surely.
Thank you to the man who handed my pants back, though.
Yeah, good man. But he stole your socks and your shirt.
He's like, bloody hell, this is a nice T-shirt and socks. I'll have them.
He wasn't wearing any socks at the time. Basically, you just clothed the homeless man, and he's like, I'm not having these pants. He can have them. I might be homeless, but I'm not disgusting. That's probably what happened.
Segueing into some comic talk, because last week we talked about the war in Trucio Bismia, and now we have got some semi kind of follow-up.
Boing.
Anyway, it's issues 116, 117 and 118. It's time for comic talk.
Comic talk, oh, comic talk. Larry Hama writes them, Chief and Chris discuss them, whoa. Comic talk, oh, comic talk. Larry Hama writes them, Chief and Chris discuss them, whoa.
Oh, and that's where I put the audio. Brilliant. Okay, that's interesting. I like it. I like how you're working today.
I bluffed you early.
Yeah. Well, at least I know now for when I'm editing this that hold your horses, McLeod. There's a whole segment going on here before he introduces the music.
Right. This is a 3-parter. It's called Destro, Search and Destroy. What's funny about 3-parter?
Nothing. I'm laughing at the previous conversation we've just had.
That you're editing out.
We're having none of. No, I'm kidding. That's all staying in.
So, yes, issue 1. What do you think of this cover? I think this is Michael Golden back on covers.
Very X-Men vibe with this one.
Yeah, it is kind of actually.
It looks like that.
Future Past.
Days of Future Past, yeah. The Wolverine and... Was it... Who is it, Kitty? Or
is it Kitty? I think it's Kitty.
Yeah, Kitty, yeah. Very
right,
shades of that.
So he's there in his old battle togs and poster in the background. Wanted, Destro, dead. And I presume it says, or alive. I don't know. Dead or
but
a
they
cat.
run out of space, yeah.
Yeah.
Dead or not dead.
Issue 117.
It probably says deal or no deal at the bottom, and they just borrowed it from a previous poster, but carry on.
Yeah. Issue 117, Destro and some Joes busting through a wall with Baroness. This does not happen in the comic.
No.
I don't think, does it?
No.
Oh, maybe.
They don't bust through a wall. They're not the Kool-Aid guy, are they?
It's a dynamic cover. You know? I've got no problem with that cover. And then I really like this one on 118. Even though Cobra Commander is wearing an outfit he is not wearing in this storyline, and he never goes one-on-one with Destro.
Yeah.
So nothing of this story, apart from Destro being in that outfit, it takes place in any of these issues. But just as an image, I really like it.
Samesies, yeah.
A lot of movement going on.
And you took my favourite complaint away from me that I'd use on pretty much any cover. It's like, it's not in the issue, I don't like it.
Yeah.
But that's not true.
Also, interestingly, here we get Rod Whigham back on pencils for this arc.
Wiggle.
Yeah, Wiggo. Obviously, one of the greatest G.I. Joe. Well, I think probably my favourite. I think because mainly he did. If I look at my G.I. Joe ranking list, most of my favourites are from his art, but he does a bang-up job on his return. Obviously, scripted by Larry Hama, Randy Emlins on inks, Rick Parker's on letters, Bob Shireen on colours. In fact, I seem to be reading out the same names. It's credit to the book that the letterist, colourist, and inkers have pretty much stayed regular for a long time, which is nice to see. They
were probably doing like multiple jobs throughout, weren't they? Like they were probably just like the in-house guys that are just doing it all the time.
Yep, exactly. So what we got here, we got a storyline where Cobra Commander has put out a contract on Destro's head of 20 million, I think it is.
Dead or not dead.
Dead or not dead. And all the scum of the galaxy, the hive of scum and villainy from the cantina come out to get him, and he teams up with the Joes, and it's a story that actually, we've said it before, we'll come to it at the end, we've said it before, where Larry used to like to wrap up stories very quickly over 2 or 1 page.
Panel.
This one wraps up in 1 panel.
Yeah, impressive.
It's very funny.
Impressive.
Most impressive.
The whole thing kicks off though inside The landlocked
Chief
freighter.
Smart. Oh, sorry. Right, yeah.
That would be a scary story. Maybe I could get Larry to write a G.I. Joe story set in my mind.
And it'll be all in the freighter.
Speaking of minds, we do get in this storyline an explanation of how the brainwave scanner works.
Yeah, we do. And that's something I was going to bring up with you when we got to it. But yeah, no, totally. Yeah, there's that. Yeah. Our preconceptions of, them using all this other stuff, they probably do in that. And I think I agree with what Chad said when we were discussing it with him, and that he thinks it utilizes lots of different ways. Yeah, and this is just this one that they're talking about in here is one where it's recreating that thing in their mind, and it's all in the mind at that point. But yeah.
We can talk about that bit when we get to it.
Something I have to say in this at this stage, we do see a lot of in this 3-parter. There's a real attempt to shoehorn in as many of the new looks, new figures that were out at the time into the story as possible. Yep. And Cobra Commander, out of nowhere, is rocking his version 4 get-up. And it is just... like, this figure, for me... I actually did a video with Analog Toys Tony. If you've ever spoken to Tony, if you've ever watched any of his videos, he's brilliant. The guy does amazing YouTube videos. Vintage toys, he's brilliant. I love him. And we did this kind of like crossover thing where he asked me to help on a Cobra Convergence video I was doing, which was a top 10 Cobra characters.
Oh, yeah.
And I was kind of, my mission was to pick one of the worst Cobra characters that ever came out in the vintage 82 to 94 line. And I chose this character because I don't necessarily dislike a lot of figures. Like some of them are a little less interesting than others, but for the most part, I get a lot of joy and I love a lot of the figures, even if they are, considered on the whole to be kind of shit. I really do like them, and I found this really hard, this choice. But Cobra Commander stood out to me, this version 4, because it was so... I want to say, like, the figure was so disproportioned, it just didn't look right. And the helmet... like, the way they do it in here looks a bit better, because they've almost, like, the face guard on the toy is, like, in 2 parts, but it's all red. But what they did on this is they painted that top kind of almost point that goes down to where the nose would be. They painted that gold as well. So I think he actually looks better in the comic than he did in the toy. But anyway, sorry, I just thought I'd completely railroad that entire segment.
It is strange because you turn the page, first of all, it's like, look at this clown sitting on a throne. Oh my God, that's Cobra Commander. If you were seeing it for the first time, I don't like it at all. The helmet is kind of Nazi stormtrooper by way of Darth Vader-ish helmet kind of thing. It just doesn't work at all. I mean, you could say that about his, regular helmet, but I don't know. It just doesn't do anything for me at all, this one. Who are the 2 guys standing next to him with like the dual...
Oh, they're Crimson Guard Immortals. There's another... I think they're the first... That's the first appearance maybe of these guys.
Okay. I don't think they really show up much in the comic, so...
No, that's the first. I think that's the only time you see them.
But even going forward, I don't think we see much of them either.
Probably not. This was definitely an attempt at throwing as many new designs, new characters, new toys into the lineup as possible, which we'll get to in a second as well. And we also see a great shot here of the aspids, don't we? Like,
yeah. I mean, Rod's doing a bang-up job here. The colouring's really good as well.
Also, I think this may be, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you would obviously have seen them beforehand, but I don't remember in the issues we've looked at of seeing the Hurricane yet. Have we seen the Hurricane yet?
We did see it in the last storyline from the last episode. Very briefly, it was flying through Trucia Abysmia.
Okay, I don't think I mentioned at the time when we talked about that, because that's something I wanted to mention, is I never saw the Hurricane as a Cobra vehicle. When I look at it, it just doesn't strike me. Even the blue is a little bit lighter than the Cobra blue. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I kind of feel like the Hurricane could have been a Joe vehicle and nobody would have batted an eyelid, I don't think.
Yeah. Interestingly here, on that 3rd panel of that page where it is, the camera actually has Sony branded on it. Normally you'd have something like Phony, or you see that?
Oh God, yeah. Sorry, I was ahead of you. Oh yes, oh my word.
Very unusual.
It does.
Very unusual for impressive. A comic to actually put a licensed product name
Yeah, I think that was done not by accident, but they just put it on there, and then it went out and no one noticed, so it didn't matter.
Yeah. A couple of things I do like over these pages. I do like Cobra Commander's dialogue. I mean, there's a lot of comedy in these 3 issues.
Yeah,
kind of parody-ish of.
It's a light-hearted story.
There's a lot of pantomime villainry.
Yeah,
because straight away, the Televiper has said, "Oh look, Billy and Zartan have definitely confirmed their bodies are not here."
Yeah,
and Cobra Commander is, "This will not do. This is spoiling my day. I wanted to get in some prime, uninterrupted gloating time." What does that actually entail? What does that mean?
I think that's just code for he wants to have a but there's too many people knocking about.
Got it. So he can't knock one off. There's too many people knocking about. And then the other thing I like is this was reminiscent of long time back where he's having a board meeting and you think, oh, where's this happening? And it turns out it's in the back of an 18-wheel truck.
Yes.
And so he is here. Oh, what's he doing? This is his palace. Oh, no, it's actually in
an Aspid.
It's in the Aspid, yeah, which I thought was a nice little callback almost.
It's carrying a tankers, aren't they? Those containers that you see.
Oh, yeah.
And they're almost like rehousing a mobile home in a sense, aren't they?
Yeah. And there's more classic Cobra Commander dialogue. Taking people's money away isn't half as satisfying as making them suffer.
Yeah, because like Tomax and Zaymar saying, cheer up, calm down, look at all the money we made from selling back that, the benzene guy, his little country.
Yeah.
And and he's like, who gives a shit? And kicks it all out of the kicks it out of the door. It's like, oh man.
I got an advert here for a Game Boy game.
Okay.
Right, can you guess?
Probably not.
Crime. The stench is everywhere. But now, bad guy's name, and his band of drug lords will be taught a lesson in justice. This guy's style. There's nowhere for them to hide. Packing his M60 machine gun, nitro-charged grenades and heat-seeking rockets, this guy will hunt them down from the urban New York jungle to the voodoo-infested wilds of South America, destroying everything evil in his sight with another guy at his side. Hundreds of enemies will be given the ultimate payback.
Not a clue.
It's a game by Acclaim. If I tell you the bad guy, but now Jigsaw and his band of drug lords.
Oh, Punisher?
Yes, there you go. The Punisher.
Awesome.
Cool, actually subtitle The Punisher, subtitle The Ultimate Payback.
Awesome.
And the guy who was helping him with Spider-Man at his side.
Lols, your favourite.
Yeah, my favourite. Right, next page. Interestingly, we get some very, very Dick Van Dyke-ish accents here from Big Ben.
Oh, can we talk about, before we get to Big Ben, because I think that's a really good one to talk about, just before that, when we see Destro and the Baroness.
Oh, yes, yeah. They're convalescing. They're happy that he's given up his life of arms dealing. She's given up a life of terrorism.
Now, they say something that I just think is really funny in this. When they're talking like, oh, look, there's a friggin' housing development being built over there again. And I'm just thinking, oh my God, if that's not the most obvious thing ever as well.
Oh, do you mean the Malaprop Gardens, reasonable homes for reasonable people?
Exactly. and they're kind of talking, but one of the things that I have to, there's a few things I have to talk about here. One, we see Destro without his mask again, and it's getting to the point now where there's just zero mystery about this character, right? Like, none at all. And that is where I think the Action Force comics were so much more interesting for me, because Destro always regained that mystery. He always regained that mystery. And the same with Snake Eyes. When we talked about that in the Action Force comics, when they get the opportunity to show his face, you don't see it. I just feel like it was a mistake, I think, in showing Snake Eyes and showing Destro so early on, and then for so long afterwards. I think it was a mistake.
Larry also changes his character a little bit in terms of his syntax, the way he speaks, his syntax, because a few pages later, he's hooked up with Metalhead, who, as it turns out, was a Destro guy.
Iron Grenadier, yeah.
Spying in the Cobra ranks, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And then Destro, they're talking about, Cobra stuff, whatever, and Metalhead saying, oh, remember Cobra Commander attacked you before, and Destro saying, oh, that was not Cobra Commander, that was Fred. And then Destro's like, as I remember it, he was totally under the thrall of that wretched Dr. Mindbender. We gave him quite a thrashing too. Yeah. And that's just not how Destro talks.
I know what you mean.
It's almost like he's made him more sort of lordly.
Yeah.
And more, I don't know, upper crusty.
Totally. No, I get that vibe 100%. Also, if anyone didn't know, that was a Paralyzer tank in the first blimmin'...
Oh, right, with a shovel on the front.
With the shovel on the front. I'm kind of looking at there and, okay, I know what's going on here. And also, if you look at that building with the pipes coming out of it, that to me screams like the brainwave scanner that we saw at Millville.
Yes.
Where they've got the pipes running into the building.
Yep.
And you only ever see it, that style, when they're dealing with a brainwave scanner. And I always thought, that's, they're kind of giving you these little clues beforehand. And even on the next page, the vehicle drives over one of those pipes, and they're like, it's some sort of electrical cable leading off into those large trailers. And this is where we get a new character kind of introduced. Oh, well, we'll get into this, but is it McKeith?
McKeith, he's a gamekeeper who Destro has hired to look after the game. Yeah, nice.
But we get the introduction, as you said before, shortly afterwards, of Big Ben and also Flint and Lowlight in his version 2 get-up. When I first saw that panel of him at the bottom of the panel, I thought, Breaker's back. And then I thought, hang on, how can Breaker be back? And then it wasn't until and I'm not talking about the first time I read it yesterday. I mean, the first time I read it years ago, I thought it was Breaker. Yeah, so they're getting in their new toys and what have you. Yeah. And what I love about Big Ben, and you go for it about his voice because you were talking. No,
I was just going to say we get the couple of classics. We get our Summit's coming, and the next page we get Blimey. Have we got hobgoblins and wraiths a prowl in the islands?
They really are.
And when I say islands, he means highlands.
They really are playing it up, aren't they? The funny thing is, the figure, it was a US release in 91 originally on G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero card. And he, on his file card, is from Burford, England, which is between Oxford and Gloucester in the UK, kind of over towards close to Wales in that sense. And you kind of think, would he speak like that? Do you know what I mean? I'm not sure the Burford accent is.
It's not that.
I know that's more like Dick. You're right, Dick Van Dyke, like Cockney. Yeah, like fake Cockney, isn't it? Anyway,
let's move it along. Otherwise, we'll be here all day. But you just briefly will say that Zartan and Billy show up, and the Joes spot them, and they're going to Destro because they're kind of freewheeling. They're on their own, but they're going to Destro because they consider him to be the most moralistic of all the people associated with Cobra, so they think I don't know what their actual game plan is, but they're like, he can help us.
It's a bit loose again, isn't it? But there are a couple of things on this as well. We do get a first viewings again of the new General Hawk.
Before that, sorry, we get of course I forgot, Zartan turns into a werewolf.
That's where you get the Hobgoblins line, isn't it?
Yeah, of course, yeah. But what is Hawk doing here? Because he shouldn't be a man on the ground. And what is that stupid uniform he's got?
So Hawk was re-released again around that 91 time in this really cool garb. It's like it's almost like a flight suit with a helmet.
Is it cool?
Yeah. And he gets like a blooming rocket pack, kind of like gliding, like winged rocket pack that he comes with as well. Okay. It's an amazing figure. Honestly, you'd love it. They don't his head sculpt's slightly different. He's got like one of those almost like very old-fashioned leather headgear type things where the hair is exposed at the top and his face is exposed, and it looks amazing. It's a really good figure design, trust me. I'll send you images of that for the tweeter. But also Snake Eyes version 4, version 3 in the UK jumps out of the Tomahawk as well, but he's still got his trench knives on his chest, so he's like a mixture of his new version and the version that he just, there's slightly kind of easing out of the picture.
Okay, I don't know the figures, so
you will after Chris talks toys.
It just looks like a different uniform than previously, so I'm not too bothered either way about how he looks, other than I don't particularly like it. I know it's your favourite version of him.
Well, yeah, he's not drawn amazingly well in this issue for that get-up, but I will, I'll show the figure's amazing.
Right.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Then we get a full-on Cobra Commander reveals his plan, and it was that old, whatever it was, the People's Home, the housing development was, as everyone knew apart from Destro, a ruse, and it was, like you say, the Paralyzer tanks and the Hurricanes. The Hurricanes look cool, but again, like you said, you've nailed it. They look like a Joe vehicle, not a Cobra vehicle.
Big time.
Just the styling of it.
So they attack. Yeah,
they attack. Destro knew something was up. He's got his Razorbacks on it. He's got that's why I put the battle togs out, whatever. So they get dressed. But what they don't know is that Cobra Commander has tunnelled under Castle Destro. Now, I don't know how Destro knew that, because when the Razorbacks start blowing up all these houses and they find out they're empty or filled with dirt, and they find one of them is the brainwave scanner. Destro says the houses were only built as hollow shells to hold the dirt excavated by the tunnelling operation. The assault is not meant to take the castle, it is simply meant to ensure that all the defenders are within the castle walls. Cobra Commander has tunnelled under the walls and set explosive charges.
I know.
How does he know that?
He's assumed a lot in a short period of time. He just saw that one building blow up with them running out of a tunnel and is literally... And also, he's seen the brainwave scanner's been exposed. So he's really assumed a lot of things. He assumes that the reason... Because they did a lot of security checks on the people that were working at the housing estate, and they all checked out. The reason being they're all brainwave scanned to think they were doing something else. So it's
he did like lie detector tests on them and all that kind of stuff, didn't he? Yeah. So like no matter what he did, Cobra Commander was a step ahead in that sense. But then when this happens, it's like, you're right, he's put a lot together. I mean, that would take one hell of a bit of detective work, and then to just assume the fact, they must have tunnelled underneath. But how does he not know they've tunnelled underneath and they're going to break through inside, and just take everyone hostage? Why
would he know about the explosives? In any case, they blow up Castle Destro, but Destro, Baroness and McHeath escape on a Razorback, and McHeath actually turns out to be
Lady J. No, Chuckles.
Mother Chuckles.
I like Chuckles.
Yeah, I love the fact that when we do anything with Chuckles, your instant reaction is, I like Chuckles. And every time he's right, he's brilliant. And I love the thought of him being an undercover agent and just being like, he's like the Joe Zartan, but without the fancy effect.
And then you get, just big... And why is he smiling? At the bottom of that page, I've gone a couple of pages, their Razorback gets blown up at the top of the page, Cobra Commander, that knocked out their vehicle, finished them off. And the last panel, Chuckles is smiling.
I know, because he knows the Tomahawk's coming around. Yeah.
Here comes the Tomahawk. He's ace in the hole. Yeah, Cobra Commander steals some sort of rocket launcher off of a Heat Viper.
Yep.
Fires it straight up the of that
for so long.
Tomahawk.
For so long, I thought the Heat Vipers were flamethrower troopers. Even though I'd read the file card before and all that kind of stuff, it's high explosive anti-tank is what they stand for.
Yep.
And they've even got little rockets on their ankles that clip on their ankles, the figures.
Like flamethrower.
And I'm like, it's clearly a flamethrower. Like, what is my problem, honestly?
No, just a chump. So then,
correct.
His action is hard and fast here because stuff is getting blown up. Guns are going off. Choppers are going down. Choppers are going up. Another chopper arrives on the scene. This one has got Billy and Zartan in. They're now attempting a rescue of Destro, Baroness, and Chuckles. They all safely get on the chopper, except the Baroness, who gets shot. Destro's going to leap out to save her, but Billy goes all nerve death pinch thing.
Bit Vulcan.
Bit of Vulcan death pinch. Oh, actually, it is the ARAH death touch, except he says modification. Obviously, otherwise he'd be dead. He'll be out for an hour. He's done the 1 hour death touch. And that is the end of the issue. Cobra Commander's... He can actually now do his gloating that he was so wanted to do at the beginning of the issue. He can now do it because he has the Baroness, Destro's one true love. And thus, we have the means of inflicting pain and suffering on him through a beloved proxy. What a cliffhanger. And then, in the end of my issue, here, I've actually got a pin-up of Roadblock.
Nice.
I think it's Tony Salmon's, possibly. I'm not sure. It's like a 2-page file card, 2 pages of history on Roadblock.
Leaping like a Tony Salmons.
Which leads us into issue 117, where things kick up a gear.
Essence la aviation. I love that, by the way, on the opening.
Yeah.
The opening kind of splash panel, 1-page splash panel. So the Aspid is hovering over this train because it's running out of fuel. Only one of them can fly the helicopter, Zartan, and the only other person that can fly a helicopter is Destro. So they wake him up, explain to him that, hey, we need to get this fuel sorted, but we need someone to hold us in position. So he does that. Zartan jumps off, pumps Essence la Aviation directly out of the tanker just to keep them going for a little bit further. And then we go back to the Joes.
I've got an advert here for Spider-Man on the Sega Genesis. Can you name the 7 villains pictured in this video game?
Okay, so it's going to be Shocker.
No.
Oh God! Right, Kingpin.
Yeah.
It's not. I'm surprised it's not the usual crew. Then
it's not the Sinister Six.
No.
There are some members of the Sinister Six, but
Okay, Venom.
Got 1. Venom, yeah, that's 2.
Carnage.
No, too early for that.
I should have held my horses on that one. So we've got Kingo. We've got Venimo. I guess, and they're all villains, right?
They're all villains, yeah.
Octopus.
Yep.
Okay. Rhino.
Incorrect.
Oh. Hobgoblin.
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna say Hobgoblin and not the other one. Am I correct?
Green Goblin.
Yes.
Yeah, no Green Goblin.
Oh, good. So I just didn't want to waste.
Correct
another...
in your non-guess.
Okay, good.
Yeah, you got 3 more.
Is it Scorpion? Is that his name?
No.
Okay. Put me out of my misery for the last 3.
There is one animal, not a scorpion, but it is an animal. In the later issues of Spider-Man, he ate a boy. I think he ate his own boy.
Lizard.
Yep.
Okay.
2 more. They both wear green. One wears green and yellow.
Oh, Jamie
Yep.
Foxx. What the f*** is his name? Electro.
Yep.
Yes.
And the other one was, I think he was in a movie as well. Yeah, he was in a movie. He's got a green top and reddish brown pants. As in, trousers now.
Yeah, Sandman.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Wow. Jesus, I'm glad that segment's over.
Sorry.
What's worse, basketball players or Chris naming Spider-Man bad guys? You tell us. Write in and tell us. So what's happening here? I forgot where we are. Oh yeah, basically Lady J has said Cobra Commander's proper in it now because Destro's not going to stop until one of them is put out of their misery, effectively. So Cobra Commander's going to have to go the whole hog, which is where he then puts out this communique to the whole underworld to say, I think the Viper says, "You are now transmitting to all Cobra stations, Cobra Commander." And he wants him, dead for 20 million in cash, of all things.
Bit Dr. Evil, that.
Gentlemen, it's come to my attention that a breakaway Russian republic, Kripalakistan, is about to transfer a nuclear warhead to the United Nations in a few days. Here's the plan. We get the warhead, and we hold the world ransom for $1 million.
Also, you get to see General Hawk's proper headgear now.
We do, yes. Yeah. Still looks right. So then, as much pantomime villainy as Cobra Commander's been doing, he gives Baroness a proper Mike Tyson right uppercut and then a kick to the gut.
Yeah, he is not holding back, is he?
He is full-on evil here. I think he will get his comeuppance, maybe. Not sure.
Have you ever seen the 90s G.I. Joe commercials from the US before?
No.
Watch them, they're amazing. It's that style Cobra Commander, and everything is like really poor cosplay and amazing wobbly backgrounds, but it's brilliant. Like, it's so much fun. Yeah, try and watch those, because it's that version of Cobra Commander, that kind of ridiculous version.
Cool.
Well, a version of,
Right.
Get me the plasma tops, and Cobra will rule the world!
A couple of funny bits here where the communique's gone out to put the price on Destro's head, and the one I like is in Beirut, where there's a couple of bad guys up in a broken down shanty townhouse, and a brick comes through with a poster attached to it.
It's a grenade!
Yeah, no, it's just a wanted poster of Destro. So someone was just cycling past, like a paperboy. Maybe that could be the new game, Paperboy 3, where you cycle past buildings and chuck bricks through them.
Look what it says on the poster.
Destro, wanted, dead.
Dead money. There's no or alive on there.
Yeah.
It's changed completely.
Yeah, he does not want him alive anymore, dead.
I love the Night Creepers as well. Like, they're so... I don't like the fact that they're so easily dispatched, but I just love their look and like the potential for them to be a really cool bad guy. And I feel like that they never really got off the ground in the comics because they'd always just be instantly dispatched.
Yeah, I'm going to jump forward actually to the next issue for more Night Creepers because they've taken the case on, and we'll talk about where they try assaulting Destro, but at the end of the storyline, they're back in Zurich in their head office. And there's a line here which says, "This meeting of the Night Creeper High Command is hereby called to order. Has everybody got their coffee?" And one guy says, "Pass the chemical sweetener." Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, it is cute. I also like the fact they introduced Ninja Force in the previous issue as well. Like we've got Nunchuck, Chabang, and Dojo that are kind of introduced.
They're introduced in a very G.I. Joe style, aren't they?
Yeah,
kind of
like
Larry Hama style.
Training with Storm Shadow, but you don't know they're training with Storm Shadow initially. Yeah. You think they're all like bad guys are going to fight him. And
lots of exposition telling you who they are, what they're doing. Another funny bit, during that fight scene, there's a beep beep. And everyone pauses while Storm Shadow answers his phone, which is, I think, really, really cool bit.
Excuse me, hello?
Yeah.
And they're all just, oh, okay, brilliant.
Yeah, then they all go. So, nice bit of Ninja Force stuff there. You get a big showdown. Destro, Chuckles, Zartan and Billy, they're in France, aren't they? And in Marseille, they get on a boat. They lead two rival gangs to each other, who then try to take each other out. They escape on a boat. But the Night Creepers are wise to their shenanigans.
I want that helicopter as well. I really need that
quality.
custom made into some sort of Night Creeper helicopter. Because how cool would it be to have like Night Creeper logos on it, and maybe in that kind of camouflage? It'd be so cool.
Yeah. Snake Eyes. Why is Snake Eyes in Beirut? He's been sent on the trail of Destro, Chuckles, etc. Can't remember why, just to tell them that G.I. Joe are going to help them or something. Anyway, he's holed up in a hotel room, and he's got his sword with holes in it and his trench knives, etc. And he gets assaulted at the beginning of the next episode. And it's another bit of exposition that I don't really like, because he knocked everyone out with the flat of his blade rather than killing them.
And she's explaining it all.
Yeah, she wouldn't, if she's an agent, not an agent of Cobra, but a bad person out to get him. She's like, perhaps Cobra Commander wasn't quite telling the whole truth about the renegade Cobras he put a reward out on. Yeah, because obviously, does she think he's Destro then?
From what I can gather, they are on the lookout. But our informant was certain that the guest registered in room 23 as Mr. Hebaim is really a Joe called Snake Eyes. So
what's she
they
talking
know
about
it's
the
Snake
renegade
Eyes.
Cobras?
I'm guessing that she's referring to the fact that about Destro, but like he...
Oh yeah, because the next panel, she actually says, he said that Destro was being aided by the G.I. Joe team. He said that if we captured a Joe, we might be able to make him talk.
Yeah, there you go. There must be something in that previous conversation between the Joes that explains why Snake Eyes is sent to Beirut, which I will just check on.
And while you're doing that, I've got a profile in the back of the previous issue of Firefly, and this is Firefly who... He was last seen being pushed into the freighter.
Yeah.
And this is a version of Firefly that we've never seen before. He's in a green. Obviously, he crops up in the comic in a few issues' time. But at the moment this profile dropped, we've only ever seen Firefly in his kind of grey camo.
He looks badass.
So this was weird for me because I wasn't collecting the toys. I'm flicking over and I'm like, wait a minute, when did Firefly get this outfit?
It looks like it's something out of Death's Head, doesn't it? It's just gorgeous artwork.
Yeah, it's a nice looking outfit. But anyway, I'll post that picture up.
He looks so much cooler like that than he does in the toy version that came out of him.
Right. Yeah. So back to the storyline. The Joes have duped the Nightcrawlers by hiding in the fridge on board this ship they've escaped on. Because none of the Night Creepers, their technology is all based on heat imaging, etc., and sound, and they weren't able to tell they were there. But they haven't really escaped because when they do come out, they crash into the pier, which kind of alerts everyone to them, and the Ninja Force also join up forces.
So coming back to that Snake Eyes issue, by the way,
they
just want to drop... they say we're going to drop our ninjas into the fray, and that's where they look at Snake Eyes. So he's just being implemented. He's just being like put out there to cause disruption in that tracking down of Destro, etc., etc., etc. He calls Storm Shadow from Beirut, and it's like, this is the overseas operator, will accept a collect call from Mr. Hebaim, which is like Snake Eyes in Chinese or something.
Japanese, yeah.
Apologies, I didn't actually get to that part yet. And he kind of does like a Morse code thing.
That's right.
And it says, the dots and dashes, when written out and piled on top of each other, equal the hexagram that is the sign of the ARAH clan. It is a summons in order to take the section of their first field mission to Beirut. So they're going to go to Beirut, but again, there's no real explanation at any point as to why Beirut. I mean, that's not where these guys were. They were in blooming France, weren't they? So I don't really get that. It's almost like, unless someone can tell us why that's happening, I just don't really get that string of events.
Yeah. And I've now got the Baroness strapped into the brainwave scanner.
Yes.
And I always love any brainwave scanner scenes. I think they're really cool. And this is where Cobra Commander says, an amazing machine, the brainwave scanner. It records memories and creates a graphic representation of them on a three-dimensional matrix. A complex of memories constitutes an endless maze intersected by cross-references and littered with trivia. halls full of displays from the past through which the ego stumbles, but the ego is not in control here.
Ego.
So he's kind of suggesting it is a computer program.
Yeah.
But previously when we saw the Dreadnoughts kind of wheeling that submarine across, that big cardboard submarine, makes me think that at that point in time it maybe was a mixture.
Yeah.
But he's just trashing all her past and stuff. So what's his gut? He wants Destro dead, but if he kills the Baroness or crushes her mind in any way, then that's his leverage gone. So
but he's just doing that for
sadistic
fun, isn't he? He's a sadistic bastard. And the Destro doesn't know her brain's mush. Yeah, he won't know that until they get close quarters. Yep. And then we get another introduction of a not an introduction actually. We get to see a reintroduction of Rashid.
Yeah, he was cool. That was a cool storyline. That's the one where he's in the desert with Dusty and Dialtone. And he's very dismissive of Dialtone because he's like, I'm a warrior and you're just a man with a computer. And
Mainframe, wasn't it?
Oh, sorry, Mainframe, not Dialtone, yeah.
Yeah, Dusty and Mainframe it was.
Dusty and Mainframe, sorry.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the story, he realises that Mainframe was the main dude who made the mission successful. So now he himself has dedicated his life to the god of the computer.
I like his Texas Instruments T-shirt as well.
Yeah, nice.
Ripped sleeves.
And so Destro wants to use this youth in his plan to infiltrate the Night Creeper base because he needs a man, or in this case, a kid with high level of technological abilities.
Does the kid smash through the window, or is it just Destro and the Joes?
Just looking, because they're all on, good shout, they're all on gliders, which they have no idea if these gliders are going to work when just jettisoned out of the back of the C-130, so let's give it a try, why not? They happen to be okay.
Oh, Rashid's hanging from Destro's one,
He's hanging from Destro, and Destro is smashing through. So yes, Rashid has gone through plate glass window as well.
That seems really dangerous for a non-ninja. And yet there you've got Chuckles doing it, and although he's a soldier, he's all right. He can do that kind of
These Night Creepers have been sneakily behind the big Cobra's back, checking into his Swiss bank accounts, just to see how much money Cobra Commander's got, etc. And that will come back to haunt them in the last panel of this comic.
The last panel as well. It's not even It's just amazing. This little battle is you think there's so much going on. There's so many things, so many loose ends going on at this particular point in time, and it's all ended in one single panel or one page where you've got Destro is basically flexing, on Cobra Commander, saying, I just removed this amount of money from one of your accounts, and I'm going to keep doing it until you release the Baroness. And he's like, but you don't have any sway in this game or whatever. And then he says, well, actually, I do. So yeah, he's threatened Cobra Commander that he's going to do it unless he releases the Baroness. He's like, okay, fine. And then the Night Creeper's like, well, how are you getting out of here? He's like, I plan to walk out peacefully. And that's where he says, while Bill's circling in his, and he's going to, in the C-130, and he's going to broadcast to Cobra Commander the exact details of your penetration of his banking files. If we don't give him the proper all-clear code, how would you like Cobra Commander to know that?
And I was about to turn the page for the next part of the story, and in the bottom right it just says the end.
And that's it. I know.
Amazing. Because he's wiped out 10 million of Cobra's money, hasn't he?
Mm.
And he's going to do it for every subsequent bank account. That's right, yeah.
So Cobra Commander's happy to kind of go, okay, fine, and let it all go. And then they're there with the Night Creepers ready to fight again. And he's like, well, no, we're just going to walk out, mate.
Yeah, see ya. There's a cool, I really like the panel 2 pages back where Destro's firing a gun, blam. In the background, Zartan's gone full-on professional wrestler. He's got a Night Creeper hoisted above his head in a press slam manoeuvre. I mean, whoever does that in an actual fight, just press slam the guy above his head.
Zartan as well, yeah.
Zartan, yeah, amazing.
I love the fact you've got
who's
Snake
most akin
Eyes
to being a professional wrestler in his kind of gimmick, yeah.
I love in the top right-hand corner of that page, you've got Snake Eyes doing the most random flip as well, upside down, and everyone else underneath, Chuckles punching a Night Creeper, Dojo strangling one, and then these ninja stars shuriken zipping by Snake Eyes as he's doing this crazy backflip. It's brilliant.
Yeah, and then a more kind of pantomime villainry from Cobra Commander, or reactions, where on the last page the televiper's gone, it's true, I just checked with Zurich, account 34255508894 has been cleaned out. And Cobra Commander's reaction, what? That was my phony pension plan. You're a fiend, Destro, a fiend.
Amazing.
So yeah, at the end here I've got a spirit profile, which is nice. Haven't seen that dude in a while.
No, it's been a while.
What's your thoughts here?
What overall?
Yeah, what's your yo-joage?
I enjoyed it. It's a fun read. It was exciting. There are huge plot holes. There are loose elements of it that, you just have to kind of accept, a bit of suspension of disbelief.
Yep.
sometimes the writing is a little bit lazy, but sometimes it's just absolutely brilliant. I like the art. It was fun again and bright and vibrant. They introduce a lot of new characters. They get a lot of the toys kind of on show. Paralyzers, hurricanes, as you mentioned, they have seen use previously, but probably not as intense as they were used in these issues. We get new versions of Cobra Commander, Low Light. We get Big Ben introduced. We get Snake Eyes version 4, his gear version 3 in the UK. General Hawk, his version 3 get-up. And also the Crimson Guard Immortals. I mean, there's a lot. Oh, and then Ninja Force. So everything is like shoveled in there. And as you said in that profile, we get to see a new Firefly as well. So that's pretty cool. Now, interestingly enough, the Cobra Commander figure, then they had this... something I didn't mention at the beginning, but they had this... Like, you could take the mask off, basically. You could see a faint face underneath it, and it wasn't like a comfortable removal. You'd probably break something if you tried to remove it, but it was like glued in with pegs, so it wasn't super secure. So if you gave it over enough time, you could probably get it off there. And underneath, you saw Cobra Commander's face. It was the first time they did it in an action figure, I believe, for Cobra Commander. And that particular aspect, it was funny, like the face, I'll send you a picture of the face. It's ridiculous. Like it was actually based on Bill Young, and I don't think it looks anything like Bill Young, he was like a Hasbro employee at the time. And I don't think it looks anything like him, really. They really exaggerated all like his eyebrows and his facial features so that you could see it through this mask, or see it very faintly through the mask. And I just found that really interesting. Like, it was one of the first times that Cobra Commander's face had been seen, and for it to be that, it was just a bit like, wow. And it reminded me. Do you remember the Inspector Gadget toys at all?
No.
Inspector Gadget. They released a Claw figure. Now, the Claw was never seen on TV. You never saw his face. You only ever saw his hand, right? Do you remember the Inspector Gadget cartoon?
Yeah.
I'll get you, Gadget.
Next time.
Next time, Gadget. I promise I'll get you next time.
And the actual figure revealed his face, and I will send you that as well because it is absolutely hilarious. But the actual figure on card had a sticker in front of the face, so you couldn't actually see it on card. You'd have to buy it, open it, take it out, and then see it face face to face. So it was a really cool thing. It reminded me of that a little bit, but obviously they never wanted the face to be seen. It was always just going to be hidden under this mask. But obviously you can take it off. In any case, in terms of Yo-Jo rating, I'm going to say a low 7.
Low 7. I am the same. Right. Now it's time for Chris Talks Toys.
Chris talks about toys, ho ho. Chris talks about G.I. Joe. He talks about all the things from the comic book and the animated show. Chris talks about toys. Chris talks about toys. Chris talks about toys. Chris talks about toys.
Which I kind of just did a second ago. I've been talking toys the whole time on this episode, as I always tend to do. And I'm going to do a version of the figure that you didn't like in this issue, but I love this figure, and that is Snake Eyes version 4 in the US and version 3 in the UK. Came out in 1991 in the United States and 92 in the UK. And obviously, a Real American Hero card in the US, and a G.I. Joe, by the time 92 came around, just a G.I. Joe, flat G.I. Joe carded, kind of Euro card version 3. Now, he was pretty prominent in the Deke cartoon. I'm not sure if we get much more of him looking like this. Once we start getting into Ninja Force, he switches costumes again, because my goodness, this guy changes costumes more than Lady Gaga does. We get a little bit of this costume, but not much. And I absolutely adore this figure for a couple of reasons. One, this is the one figure I can't remember if I got in the US or the UK, because I know it came out in both places. We went to the States again in 92, and I think I got it there in the States, but it was out in the UK. In any case, irrelevant. But I absolutely love this figure from the moment I saw it. I thought it was such a cool upgrade to the Snake Eyes character. So different than what we'd had previously. Every other iteration he'd been on all black. He'd been very much a stealthy type figure. And then all of a sudden, we get this new kind of design where we have, you know, like a completely new deco. There's black in there, but it's not predominant necessarily. You've got this grey web gear which goes over the chest, which kind of is like this light grey, almost like, you know, almost white kind of web gear. He's got this blue undershirt, very much like form-fitting undergarment. He's got these black pants, and he's got these like blue lower leg pieces, which I suppose act like kind of boots. But then he's got these black feet, so they're almost like just like a design in the trouser area. I always thought, and then these black gloves over the top, but and the mask, the helmet is completely different. Like he's got the face mask kind of lower part, which is like the slats in it, like almost like the breathing holes, and then he's got these like red and blue goggles and like a black like under mask kind of thing going on. So the look is almost like paintball Snake Eyes. He just looks so interesting and different and cool, and the card art as well for me was one of those ones that sold it. He looks again completely different in style, and in like the pose is really cool. He's like, not, his body's kind of like almost pointing on his right to our left, but then he's looking back over his shoulder a little bit to his left or our right as we look at it, and it's just really cool. He came with some weird accessories in a sense, because this was like during the era of massive missile launchers and so on, but they gave him, and I think this is quite inspired, a backpack missile launcher with a grappling hook and rope attached to both pieces, so you could fire a grappling hook to a thing and you climb up it. So there was a lot of play value in this toy. He also came with 2 red swords and a red machine gun with a long barrel, and obviously his figure stand. And again, like really, really cool design, amazing looking character, and such a cool upgrade to the figure. His file card was the same on both the US and the UK versions. Codename Snake Eyes, Commando, file name classified, serial number classified, grade E7, birthplace classified, primary specialty infantry, secondary specialty hand-to-hand combat instructor. Snake Eyes honed his combat skills as a long-range recon patrol trooper in Southeast Asia and perfected his mystical martial arts techniques with the same ninja clan that produced Storm Shadow. Although he is an equally adept with submachine guns as he is with swords, Snake Eyes is most dangerous and unpredictable when he's armed and cornered. When Hawk went to Snake Eyes' cabin to recruit him for duty with G.I. Joe, the silent ninja was out hunting rabbits.
Be very, very quiet. I'm hunting wabbits.
Bare-handed hunting wabbits. He's generally regarded as the primo baddest dude of the G.I. Joes. When we need somebody to sneak up on a Class A major bad guy and pop a can of butt kick on him, Snake Eyes is the man for the job. The bad guy could be in a fortress on top of a sheer cliff, but that won't bother old Snake Eyes none. He'd just whip out his handy grappling hook missile and use it to shimmy his way up the cliff face until he cornered the culprit, threw him down and took his name. A couple more things to finish. This version of Snake Eyes was also released as a 12-inch figure in the 1992 US Hall of Fame, and obviously the UK, I think it came out the same year in actual fact. And that was, again, I saw that figure and thought, oh my God, I wanted it. So to see it in those two versions, I was just like, you know, I think it was more like this is a really cool figure based on the fact that he's out in 2 different versions. This version of Snake Eyes was seen a lot in the arcade game by Konami in 92 as well, which is amazing. That kind of, it's almost like a perspective, like you're moving forward all the time and you can move left and right and fire as the screen comes towards you and you're shooting bad guys, and it was packed full of amazing characters again, and it was just a brilliant computer game. In any case, that's Snake Eyes, 1991 US version 4, 92 version 3 UK.
Fantastic. And when you say Konami, you mean Konami, like every normal person says it?
I always said Konami. I've always said that. Sorry.
I don't know what's right. I'm just saying I'm right because I said it like differently. Anyway, after being enlightened like that every week, and tip of the cap to you, sir, after being enlightened, what we really need to do now is confuse. So it's time for British colloquialisms, aka over-egging the pudding.
We got a pudding, we're gonna egg it. We got a pudding, we're gonna over-egg it. We got a pudding, we got no criticisms. That means it's time for some British colloquialisms.
And this week, do you go first this week? I'm always going first. You go first.
This week, it is one that I love this as a term. Basically, it's an insult. And it's a one-word insult. and it begins with a W, and it's not what you're thinking.
Okay.
Basically, this popped up. I remember getting, I think it was like one of the really funny like UK magazines, like.
Does it have 5 letters?
No, it's a 7-letterer.
No, I thought it was Wally.
It's not Wally. So there was a British well, there were loads of British comics back in the day. Just name some for me at the top of my head, like Billy the Whiz,
Whizzer and
Whizzer and Chips,
Chips.
Yeah. What's the one with the Bash Street Kids in it?
Beano and the Dandy.
Oh, okay, Beano and Dandy, yeah, of course. So there were loads of comics like that, and one of them came out with this, like, it was like a sticker sheet, and the sticker sheet on it had loads of funny little things on it, like you know, some of them had like a few lot of kiddie insults that you wouldn't have an issue with, and one of them was Wazzock.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Wombat.
No, Wazzock, and that's Wazzock. And Wazzock. And I've always thought it was a funny term to use for somebody. There's another one that I'm going to use next week. It was also on this sticker sheet, which got me in loads of trouble because my dad thought it sounded a bit too much like another swear word.
Right.
And I thought, well, that's not fair. Like, why can't I say that word? But in any case, Wazzock is mine, and that's something, again, I don't think any Americans ever heard in their entire existence.
No. It's a good one. Start using it every day if you can.
Wazzock.
My one is something I heard off of another podcast that I was listening to this week, and the term is bog standard. That's bog standard.
Yeah.
And basically meaning just standard, but what's more standard than standard, something that's bog standard.
Which hilariously doesn't mean anything, does it?
No,
It almost
no idea.
It kind of means it's like the end of a standard issue thing, really, doesn't it?
Yeah. That's just bog standard. Like, if you've got, you know, a load of Cokes lined up, a normal Coke would just be the bog standard
totally
kind of thing. But
I'm going to do that annoying thing I always do with yours, and I'm going to read
You're going to look it up.
Unknown, but probably derived from a corruption of box standard, under influence from bog, coarse slang for an outhouse or toilet, possibly via bog wheel, Cambridge slang for bicycle, or from bog, unsettled swampland, in reference to a lack of sophistication or polish, sometimes folk etymologized as separately deriving from bog toilet standard after a supposed similarity among chamber pots or toilets, despite box standard predating it by a century and bog's original use only in reference to latrines and outhouses, or from the unattested acronym BOG, allegedly short for British or German, referring to the supposed dominance of British and German engineering during Victorian times.
Yeah, bog standard, like I said. Cheers for that.
Funny enough, there isn't one for Wazzock, unfortunately.
No. But there'll be more off of Chris's old sticker sheet next week, and hopefully I will use or hear one in the coming week as well. Good segment, I'll always like that one. And we close the show, as always, with
Chief asked Chris a question. Chief asked Chris a question. What'll he say? What'll he do when Chief asks Chris a question?
Wazzock,
who is one? No. What? It's a double-parter here.
Oh, goodness.
It's a double-ender. So, for a packet of salt and vinegar or cheese and onion crisps, are these flavours that are regularly in the United States? Cheese and onion, salt and vinegar? Don't know.
Cheese and onion, no.
Anyway, don't care. Now, this is different for whichever different company in the UK. What colour do you associate with each of those flavours? Because Walker's, the biggest brand in the UK, have green as salt and vinegar and blue as cheese and onion. Pretty much every other brand has green as cheese and onion and blue as salt and vinegar. Where do you stand on that?
I know exactly what you're saying, and I think that even though Walker's has been the kind of the bog standard for many years for all Wazzocks, I think that as much as they kind of, you know, they should run the game in terms of what is coloured what, I think they made a mistake there, because I think salt and vinegar does scream blue to me.
Correct.
And cheese and onion screams green.
Correct. And what's your favourite flavour of the two is the second part?
Oh, definitely salt and vinegar, because cheese and onion, I have an issue with onions. I don't like onions very much.
Bloody hell.
I know.
Add it to the list. My list is getting so big of the stuff you don't like or can't have.
I know. Well, onions actually it repeats on me in the kind of throat area, and I always retaste it like a week later, and I just find it gross. I've never liked raw onions. I like onions in other ways, but I just don't like raw onion. And cheese and onion for me is... I used to love those crisps, believe it or not. I used to really like them, but since my onion embargo, I've kind of gone off them.
Okay. All right, that's fair. More questions for Chris next week. Will it be 1? Will it be 2? Only I know, and even I don't know yet. But join us.
Only you know, and only you care.
Yeah. Join us next week, where we'll be only doing 1 issue. That's because we got an awards show to take care of. But anyway, join us for recap of issue 119. I'm looking at the cover now, and Snake Eyes in this version that we just talked about, or Chris just talked about, does look bad.
He is bad.
It looks really good here. Storm Shadow on the cover, and Storm Shadow in a new outfit, actually.
There are going to be loads of people that hate my choice of Snake Eyes version 4. Like, it is so... It's really divisive, because I love it. I think it's bloody brilliant.
Anyway, join us next week. We were going to be doing, like I say, issue 119, because we've got to save time, because we haven't had it for a while. It's time for the Golden Joes to be doled out, because it's awards season is upon us. We'll be ranking our favourites from the years 1989 and 1990 in the categories of favourite issue, favourite artist, favourite vehicle, favourite something else. It's then something else as well. There's categories, and we were going to rank stuff, and if you write us and tweet us of new categories that you want us to potentially rank them in, we might use them, we might not, but join us anyway, because that's what's going down.
You're right, bunch of rankers.
Yeah, wazzocks. You can find us in the usual places. That's Talking Joe Comics at gmail.com, Talking Joe Comics on Instagram, Talking_Joe on Twitter, Talking Joe at G.I. Joe Podcast on Facebook, and that's about it for us. But if the fine people want to get hold of you, sir, how can they do it?
Diagnostic80 on Twitter and Instagram, and of course the Full Force Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and then Podbean, iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, and Patreon.
That's it. If you've got a bag, make sure you put those zips to the bottom and not at the top. With that done and said, or said and done even, I think I'm drunk on a lychee sparkling soda. We will catch you down the road.
Bye. Yeah.